And now for something completely different. Welcome to the Recon Trader. In today's video, I will be unboxing and setting up / installing my SpaceX Starlink internet hardware as I look to improve my internet service for my day trading business, which is basically day trading crypto like Bitcoin. So with that being said, let's get to it. So the Starlink has arrived and it is time to unbox it and get it installed up on the roof. We also received the Ethernet adapter, and so we'll get the dish installed and connected to my Ethernet switch and hardwired into my computer so I can start day trading cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin through the Starlink satellite internet service. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and unbox the Starlink satellite and this mystery box, but we'll do the small box last. Now, they actually ship everything in this box. They slap a shipping label on it. This is how it will arrive at your door. So, if we open it up, and so this is exactly how it is packaged. There's no extra packing in here. This is how it will actually arrive. If we take this top plastic piece off, it looks like we have the base, and looking at the base, the holes as far as being able to mount the base to something are extremely small, so it's not like you can get a big bolt through there. And so we'll have to explore some possibilities as far as mounting hardware. And then it looks like this little piece of plastic basically separated the base from the actual antenna. Now it looks like when you pull the antenna out, here is your setup instructions. Pretty basic, 3 steps it looks like. Here is your antenna. It looks like you got a couple buttons here on the antenna, and the cable appears to already be pre-seated in the antenna. So we'll just set that on the base temporarily. Now, after you pull the antenna out, you'll see the remainder of your 75 feet cable and the actual router itself. And it looks like the antenna plugs in here, and then the power cord will plug in here on the actual modem. And unfortunately, there is not an Ethernet port, so you can't actually hardwire into this. It's only set up for wireless. And since my objective is to be day trading with this system, I actually want it to be hardwired. I don't want any issues with connection as far as wireless goes, so I will have to have a solution to hardwire this. And then the last thing in the box is the cable, and this cable is the 75 feet of cable from the antenna to the modem itself, and then there's a cable in here for power for the actual modem itself, and the antenna will receive power through the 75 feet of cable. And that's pretty much it as far as what is actually supplied in the box itself. Underneath, nothing. So that's everything in the box. Let's move on to the small box. And inside the small box is another setup card and the Ethernet adapter. Now, unfortunately, if you want to hardwire into your computer, you will need this Ethernet adapter, where you will actually be able to connect to the Ethernet through a standard Cat5 cable. And this end will then connect into the modem, and the antenna will connect directly into here, and then obviously your Cat5 cable would connect into here. At least that's how I believe it will work. We'll find out when we actually get to the setup of this whole system. And so that's basically it for the unboxing. And so I have the cable from the antenna coming down into the Ethernet adapter, and that would plug in right here on the Ethernet adapter, and then the Ethernet adapter plugs into the Starlink router that they provide, and the Starlink router then plugs into AC power. And then also out of the Ethernet adapter, I have a Cat6 cable plugging into my TP-Link router, which then I run a Cat6 cable over to my main switch. And so that is the complete setup of the antenna on the roof and the Ethernet adapter running to the Starlink router and my own router. Alright, now that all my hardware is installed and set up, everything's connected, now I need to download the Starlink app onto my phone, and from there then I can proceed with the setup of the system. So after I download the app on my phone, I just need to assign a name to my Starlink system and a password, much like you would when you're setting up a router or your internet modem, and then click create. And then you'll get the confirmation that the setup was complete and you're all set to go. From there, once you open the app, you will see that you are online or offline. It's important that you're online. And then you can actually check the visibility. If you click on visibility over here, that will pull up the visibility portion of the app, and using the camera on your phone, you aim it at the sky in approximately the location of your satellite dish, and it will confirm you have a clear view, or if you have obstructions. If you have obstructions, you may need to move your dish. So at this point, you just click check for obstructions. Now I did end up with some obstructions as I mounted the satellite a little too close to the wall of our building. However, that's about the only place I could mount it. So off to the east, I will have some obstructions. And at the end of the day, that's not actually going to affect my service. If we jump over here to starlink.sx website, you can see from my location here in the desert, my main satellite area is basically to the north, and most of the satellites actually come in from the west and travel east. Some come up from the south, but this big green circle you see on the screen is basically my coverage for my satellite dish. And since we're over here on the website, we'll get into some of the details on how to use this website. And basically, when I set up my Starlink, I just dropped a dot at the location where I'm at, closest to where I'm at, and I wanted to make sure that the POP, or the point of presence location that I was using, was the closest location to my location. And the one in LA actually is the closest one to me. The next closest is probably either Denver or San Jose. Now, all this stuff you see flying around on the screen, these are basically satellites. The little green diamonds, those are your operational satellite version 1.5. The blue dots are your satellites that are version 1. I guess they have some version 2 in the process of being launched. And I can tell you, when I am connected to one of these little green diamonds, my internet speed is actually faster than when I'm connected to one of these little blue or version 1 satellites. And you can tell which satellite you're connected to from your location. There'll be a solid green line to the actual satellite. As you can see, in this case, I'm currently connected supposedly to this satellite, and the orange dotted line you see coming off these satellites going back to one of these orange dots, that is your gateway. That is basically where your upload speed comes from. So again, when the satellite is closest to one of these gateways is when I see the fastest upload speed. And when one of the satellites themselves are closest to me, that is when I see the fastest download speed. Now, jumping back over here to the actual app itself, under visibility, you want to make sure you have the clearest possible view with the fewest obstructions. Now, once you think you have a clear view, you can run a speed test. I have run speed tests on my phone, and honestly, they do not work very well. I don't know if it's because I have an older phone and not the fastest Wi-Fi, but I always end up with a message that my Wi-Fi is limited and the speed test basically fails. So I have not had any luck running a speed test on my phone. The good news is I won't be using Starlink for internet service on my phone. My internet service on my phone is actually provided by my phone service provider. Now, if you click on settings from the app, that will bring you over to the settings page. And if you scroll down to the bottom of the settings page, you can click on advanced. This is really the only feature that I use, and from there I can actually remotely reboot the Wi-Fi modem, or I can actually reboot my Starlink satellite dish. And I did notice when I set everything up, after a couple reboots, my speeds continued to get a little faster until I guess everything was really dialed in. So this kind of came in handy to actually reboot from my desk the actual satellite dish up on the roof, so I didn't have to keep going up and down that ladder. And for me, that's pretty much all I have used so far in the app. Now, if you follow me on a regular basis, you know I'm not a huge fan of using my phone or apps. I prefer to work on my desktop rather than my phone. And unfortunately, there's nothing available on the desktop. And so I used what I thought was relevant on the phone. And once I was satisfied I had everything set the way it should be set, I was ready to run a speed test on my computer. But before I ran a speed test on Starlink and the new internet service, I ran a speed test on my Cox Business account. Now, the reason I'm actually switching from Cox Business to Starlink is the price of the service, first of all, for Cox continues to go up, and the actual service and reliability seems to be going down. Now, with that being said, I do tend to get a download speed of around 50 megabits per second and an upload speed of around 10 megabits per second. However, I know that's not going to improve or get faster over time unless I'm willing to pay more. And with Starlink, the idea is the more satellites they deploy, the faster the speed will get. And when they deploy new technology, again, the faster the speed should get. So with that being said, I've run quite a few speed tests, and the highest speed I've been able to get is around 90 megabits per second down and around 20 megabits per second up. However, you can see this speed test was 76 megabits per second down and 7.5 megabits per second up with a latency of 33. Now, much like a gamer, when I'm day trading, that latency is important to me. The lower the latency, the faster the feed I should be receiving as far as the intel I'm receiving from the exchanges I'm actually trading on. So if I jump back over here to speedtest.net, I can run a fresh new speed test, and by just simply clicking go, we can see the latency is picked up, which isn't surprising. I'm kind of at a peak time right now for internet service in the area. I'm in a business area and I'm in the middle of the day. So a lot of times I do see my speeds drop off in the middle of the day. Early in the morning, later at night, the speeds do increase. Right there you can see I dropped down to 58 megabits down, still faster than the Cox service. And the upload speeds tend to be somewhere between that 7 and 10 when I hit this type of number. And there you go, it's almost 8. So if we jump back over here to starlink.sx, also that speed is more than likely affected by the fact that I'm connected to one of the blue or version 1 satellites versus one of these green diamond satellites. So that 58 megabits down and almost 8 up does seem to fall in line with the version 1 satellites, and then the higher numbers, the 70s and the 90s, do seem to fall in line with the version 1.5 satellites. So it does make a difference what satellite I'm actually connected to at the time that I run this speed test. So I think that pretty much wraps it up. I look forward to actually utilizing the faster speeds of the Starlink internet service. One, obviously for my day trading. Also, I'm looking to do some live streaming, so again, that faster speed, lower latencies, things like that should help with the live streaming of my day trading. And with that being said, you might want to shoot that subscribe button so you don't miss out on those future live streams. And while you're at it, if you like this video, do me a favor, spike a like. If you have questions or comments, drop them in the comment section down below. And until next time, remember, never send your money into battle without first doing your recon. See you in the next video.